Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl is presented by UFC Fight Pass. See the best that UFC Fight Pass has to offer on the Fight Pass 24/7 stream, offering a constant channel of historic fight action all day, all night. Tune in, sit back, and enjoy a network created by fans for fans. Step into our world. UFCFightPass.com.
Sex and violence. Sex and violence. Sex and violence. Sex and violence.
Hey guys, welcome back to Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl, presented by UFC Fight Pass, the show that interviews top-level MMA fighters and other experts in their fields about love, dating, romance, and that all-too-taboo subject, sex. I'm your host, Ashley Rebel Girl Evan Smith. Now let's talk about sex and violence.
What's happening, hot stuff?
What is up, my naughty listeners? New week, new podcast, new guest. Very excited to be here. Kind of got some momentum going after getting back from Colombia. But, I don't really have too much to talk about in this intro. Zole, DJ Zole, we're going to shed some light on what's going on in your life. What you got going on?
Music.
Anything else was...
day a week I get to do awesome podcasts with you.
Yeah. Are you touring right now? Are you doing shows, anything? What's going on?
A lot of shows, local here, all Southern California.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if anybody
Got
wants...
festival season coming up, so I do have to fly out to a few places.
Yeah. Any big festivals you're doing that we know?
Yeah, Rhyme Fest, and then we have Bonnaroo, and then we have another one in Tennessee. I don't know the names of all of them.
Okay.
But, yeah.
All right. Well...
Coachella.
I want to go...
I'm not on the Coachella lineup, but I'll be DJing at Coachella.
When is Coachella?
Coachella is in April, May, March. It'll be the Heineken House.
Okay, I can't... Okay, I'm just going to be very vague with the listeners. I'll tell you after we get off the podcast, but I may or may not have gotten a call from the UFC a few days ago, and we may have a very tentative date, so... I kind of have to look at my schedule now and see if I can go to, is it Coachella?
Yeah. Coachella Valley. It's like
no,
an hour away.
That's in April though, right?
I believe
no,
so.
That's too soon. But okay, I'm not going to tell the listeners. But yeah, guys, I have some exciting news that hopefully I'll be telling you in the very near future. And just as far as, my status of being, back in the cage. I'm healing from stem cells. You guys are probably tired of hearing me say that. I got back from Colombia a few weeks ago, feeling pretty fucking awesome. I'm not going to lie. It's just going to be a slow build to full fight camp and then making the return this year. So excited. Finally fucking happening. But yeah, the closer the fight gets, the more appreciative of the injury I become, because fighting was always going to be there, but this injury, like I've said before, allowed me to start this podcast. I'm doing in-cage interviews for a promotion called Up Next Fighting. I talk about them all the fucking time. The next show, by the way, is going to be on March 25th at the Commerce Casino, and it's 80s theme, so that's going to be fun. I'm going to probably dress up in some very brightly colored leotard or some shit. I don't know. But anyway, I'm saying I'm grateful because I'm finally getting back in the cage, and I've done some cool stuff while I've been injured, and most importantly, I proved to myself, I knew I was a tough bitch before, but going through this whole spine surgery situation, and not just the physical aspect, that's been tough, but the mental aspect of going through it all and staying sober, which, I used to talk about more, but I should, bring it up every once in a while. To those of you listening who are on your own, sober journey and walking the line, as they say, I'm proud of each and every one of you, because let's face it, life is a little easier when you're drunk. It can be a little more fun sometimes too. Until it's not, it's fun till it's not. But, for you guys fighting that battle, I'm very proud of you. It has its fun days, or rewarding days, I would say. And then it's a battle other days. And I proved to myself that not only can I come back from a major surgery, but I can stay sober in the meantime and not lose my God. No, I lost my mind a little bit, but I'm back. back. And I'm so excited to be getting back in there. And I'll keep you guys updated with the dates and whatnot. Some other stuff I do want to remind you as well. Please support us by going to our website and my exclusive content site. That is ashleyrebelgirl.com. It's like OnlyFans, but better. It's called Fan Time. And you pay a subscription fee and you get all the sexy pictures and videos and some other content that I'm going to be putting up very soon as well. And then our website is sexviolencewithrebelgirl.com. We've got t-shirts, hats, beanies, phone cases. Just go grab something and help support us. And lastly, please, 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 if you like this show, send it to somebody, spread the word, or you can rate and review us on iTunes. I think Spotify has it now, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Just give us a little bit of review, 1 star, 2 star, I don't care. And lastly, if you are listening on Apple iTunes, go into the top right-hand corner right now, pause this, and go click the little plus sign. And that just, means you're following the podcast, so you get updates when we give new content, new material, even though we're always here every Friday morning, new episode. All right, let's talk about our favorite sponsor. Okay, guys, let me tell you about our newest sponsor of Sex and Violence podcast with Rebel Girl, EA Tax Resolutions. They are professionals that will help with tax issues and bookkeeping. Whether you're looking to settle your tax debt for less than you owe or have back taxes that you need to file, EA Tax Resolutions can help you out. Don't believe me? Check out their YouTube channel, EA Tax Resolutions, where they show exactly how they've helped clients in the past save thousands in taxes. Not only does EA Tax Resolutions help with tax issues, but with bookkeeping. Now, bookkeeping is commonly overlooked by small businesses, myself included, as not being the most important. However, this is very crucial come tax time. Instead of scrambling for receipts, all your information is organized and, most importantly, accurate. So, if you have a small business and you're looking for a bookkeeper, EA Tax Resolutions can help you out. And remember, if you want to learn more about EA Tax Resolutions, you can visit their YouTube channel, EA Tax Resolutions, or call them at their 800 number, 1-800-245-0596. Again, 1-800-245-0596, or visit them at their website, eataxresolutions.com. Today's guest is an American mixed martial artist who competes in the featherweight division of the UFC. A professional MMA competitor since 2008, the Miami native made his way to the UFC when he appeared on The Ultimate Fighter, Team GSP versus Team Koscheck. He's number 15 in the UFC featherweight rankings, but has competed at bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight. He currently holds a 20-13-1 record. We talk about his new injury and desires for a top 10 opponent, going from introvert to extrovert, karaoke bars with his wifey, talks on soft machismo culture, animal instincts versus human instincts, bully mentality of eating animals, yin yang of masculine and feminine energy, song and poetry writing, hopeless romantic, martial arts versus fighting, harnessing the happy fighter, number 1 rule, be yourself, and much more. Here's your guest, Alex Bruce Leeroy Caceres. We're here with Alex Bruce Leeroy Caceres. I've been looking forward to this one. Alex, thank you for joining us and making time in your busy schedule, because I know you're basically in camp right now, right?
Yes and no. As you can see, I received some stitches inside and outside my lip, and also a couple different injuries as well. So me and my managers are talking with each other, and we're either thinking about postponing it maybe 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe searching for another fight, because it just wouldn't be wise on my part to take a bout right now, all kind of banged up.
Of course.
I got like Yeah.
Is that something that happened during training recently?
Yeah, it happened like yesterday.
Oh no, God, I'm sorry to hear that. I was gonna ask you how do you feel about this fight coming up and yada yada, but new
Felt
development.
great. Felt great, but then yeah, this happened,
Is it a little
and
pain?
then like, huh?
Is it painful to talk right now?
Not really. I was just being careful so I don't mess with the stitches. I got like, I think I have like four on the outside and three on the inside. Yeah, my lip kind of split in half,
Oh my God, that I've
and then I
never.
have some other injuries that I acquired as well. So just looking at the instead of just trying to be that guy, oh, let's just make it to the fight and get paid. I want to make a good performance.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, if I was your friend, I mean, we are friends, but if you're like someone close to me, I would advise you against fighting. That's not a smart move. So I'm glad you're trying to postpone it. And the UFC should understand. It's right there on your face. You're gonna get punched there, at least once or twice.
Yeah, at the same time too is the opponent that I have. I feel like I'm taking too many risks in training just to take this risk in a fight because I don't feel it's a I honestly don't feel it's a proper opponent for me. I'm in the top. I was in the top 15 two times in a row. They took me off the first time, and now they want me to go against an opponent that the last opponent I knocked out.
That was one of my questions. I was gonna ask if you had confidence, basically like it's not gonna be a surprise to you winning this fight. You want more of a challenge, is what you're saying.
Yeah, or just a more of a deserving rank. Just I just feel like I want to be able to move up, and I know that being this guy doesn't move me up anywhere. And in fact, it might make me look worse. And and losing to him especially would make me look worse.
Yeah.
So it's just and I know it's a fight. A fight's a fight. Anything can happen. These guys are all good that are in the UFC, so these guys are all game for it. Especially if they're under me and looking to get my spot. So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really make sense for me. And I was kind of pissed when they announced that for me in the first place. So it was just I just didn't think I was already kind of deterred from taking the fight in the first place when they're like kind of like saying, "Oh, if you don't take this fight, then you might not fight for a while." And I'm like, "Well, I don't want to do that either." So
Yeah.
I,
So
I just want to be appreciated, I guess, a little bit more in my climbing of the ranks. I mean, I'm not. I don't put on bad performances. I don't believe so. I don't put on boring fights,
no.
win or lose.
I mean, I think you're very deserved. You were on a 5-fight win streak, before your second to last fight. Now you're back in the win column with a first round TKO. You've been in the UFC twice as long as this future opponent, this, current opponent. It seems like I can understand why you'd be a little pissed. Your goal is to move up, and you don't move up by knocking out this guy that he's already been knocked out by someone that you knocked out. MMA math there. But I understand for sure. This could be a blessing in disguise, right? Maybe he fights another opponent because of your lip situation, and then you get a top 15 guy.
Yeah, that would be a
Blessing in
how would you
disguise.
say? Yeah, that would be good for me, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Well, I hope you heal
Yeah.
up, and I hope you get a better suited fight, whether it's the same guy later down the line or, a higher ranked opponent for sure.
Yeah, and I know there's a whole lot of people that should be available, but yeah, it's always I don't want to take these risk. I'm always taking these risky endeavors, and I think it's about time where I can just I get to choose. I would like to choose. I would not even choose, but at least have an idea of where I'm going.
Yeah, you
You
would
know,
think
I'm
so.
tired of being a gatekeeper, and that's what I feel like they're trying to do to me is keep me a gatekeeper. Okay, you made the top 15. Now you're gonna have to gatekeep everybody trying to get into the top 15, and it's a lose lose for me.
Why do you think they're holding you in that gatekeeper position? It's not like you're not marketable. It's not like you're not exciting. It's not like you're not a veteran. Like I'm confused. Like why you?
Why? If I had an answer to that, the excuse that they keep giving me is that how would you say that is my record? My record doesn't look good on paper. But I mean, what about the performances that I'm having? That should outweigh the record. Okay, my record's the past. That already happened. That doesn't include what's been going on the last 6, 7 fights.
Yeah.
And I honestly, and everybody says otherwise, but I honestly think it's because the minute I open my mouth, I'm the type of person that mainstream media don't like to hear talk.
Why is that?
Because I don't talk shit. I don't bash people. I'm not a I'm not a mainstream kind of guy. I like to talk about things that actually fucking matter.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just
I
actually
don't want
watched.
to pull the wool
I
over
wa-
people's eyes.
I watched a clip that surprised me just now. It was you talking about slap fighting, and I expected you to have some much stronger opinions about it, kind of like everyone else. But you were like, ah, fuck it, like do what you want to do, live your life. You want to get slapped in the face, get slapped in the face.
Yeah, I feel like people waste too much time worrying about how people are living their lives. There's like an old Indian proverb that says, "The man who wastes the most time is the one running around the base of the mountain telling everybody they're going up the wrong way." There's only one peak. You know, it doesn't matter how you get up there. Once you get up there, the view's the same for everybody. It's gonna be beautiful. But like, you ain't gonna ever get up there if you're trying to tell everybody how to get up there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, moving into personal life, the show Sex and Violence, it's a different podcast. You do like to talk about things that people don't like to hear about, but I think this is something that a lot of people are. It's just uncommon for fighters to open up about their personal lives or their views on love and dating and relationships. And I want to know a little bit about you and your personal life, kind of where you came from, your background. Was love and dating talked about when you were growing up as a kid?
Not really. You know, I guess you could say I heard about sex, but not enough, and not from the right people. I learned about sexuality in a very poor manner. When I was a kid, like I did run into like bad when I was a young kid, like being sexually molested by men and women. So like, I didn't really have a good precursor to that or introduction to that. So I was very reserved when it came to the dating time when I got to middle school or high school. I couldn't tell if somebody liked me, and if somebody was outwardly like showing that they were liking me. I was very just bashful and shy, and just didn't have my sexuality developed. And I didn't know how to be, and I don't know, it was weird for me. It was always weird for me, so I just never. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean that kind of a situation happening can stunt your growth in so many areas. Did you ever, get therapy for that later in life when you were an adult?
uh, Not really. I talked about it. I guess you can call that therapy. Venting about it and then trying to come to terms with it. Talking with my wife about it, especially, and other people about it. Just having so they can understand where I'm coming from, and it helped me understand where I was coming from and what was happening within my mind and spirit, I guess, and how I developed throughout the years. And then I could see why I was a certain way, why I was like almost like, I guess, on the spectrum of autism and dyslexia and all these things. I was just like, I couldn't look people in the eyes, and I was always reserved into my own mind. I would talk to myself a lot within my own head. I would just spend a lot of time alone.
Yeah, 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 yeah. At what age do you think that you kind of came into your own? Some people it's puberty. Some people, for me, myself, I remember I didn't even come out of my shell until after college. Do you remember a time where you finally started to be a little more extrovert? Because now, at least in the cage, you're like, hiya, and you have that energy that's extrovert and exciting, but I don't know you on a personal level. Do you feel like you are still that quiet, shy guy?
Yeah, of course. I'm a very reclusive individual. I don't necessarily like to go out all the time, and when I do, it's just to get my things done, like to do what I want to do. I'm not trying to impress nobody. I'm not trying to have a big friend group or anything like that. I became very um, reluctant on meeting new people, trying to get to know new people, because there's always like is never a give and take situation for me. It's always like a take and take situation for me. It's like, okay, like what can I offer them and how do I make them feel is usually more important rather than how I feel and what I want out of the relationship. So it really turned me off to like interacting with a lot of people. I perform when I'm out there on the cage and everything like that, but then again, I'm not out there shaking everybody's hand and having personal conversations with every single fan because they don't truly understand where I'm coming from for the most part. And I would have to sit down with you on a one-on-one to do that. I noticed that speaking with people in groups, they tend to synergize and get in this pack mentality. Any individual, if I speak to them one-on-one, seems to be very intelligent, very understanding. But if you don't go along with the status quo, it's kind of a headache interacting with people. So I go out to bars, but I go out to bars with my wife or maybe with a couple close friends, and just to get drinks. That's what I go to bars for. Or sing karaoke. I go to bars to sing karaoke, and I hate women hitting on me. I just don't like. I really don't like it. It's because like one, I'm already married. I already got what I wanted out of my female counterpart, and secondly, it's just saying like when women come and hit on me or try to, it makes me feel like they think that I'm easy. Like I'm so weak-minded that they can just flaunt their shit in front of me, and I'm gonna somehow collapse onto my knees and be like, "Oh yes, give it." I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't see me wanting sex as a strong masculine thing. If it's without moral, then it's not strong. If I am just moved by carnalistic desires, then how can I call myself a man?
I mean, some people would argue to say, and not me, that is sometimes the essence of being a man are those carnal desires.
Wow, that's an essence of being an animal.
Yeah,
the reason why we are animals by nature, but I think that what separates humans from animals, is that we do have a cognitive mind, that we're able to make decisions and we have a choice. There's a story I read in a book, and to join the ranks of humans, you must have a certain type of mind. See, when a fox is caught in a trap, a fox will gnaw through its own leg just to escape the trap and avoid the hunter. But a true human would lay down in the trap and await for the hunter to return, dispatch of the hunter, so he will eliminate the threat to all other human beings. A man is not only taking responsibility for himself, but he's taking a responsibility for every man as well. That's what a true man is, and that's what makes you human rather than an animal. And an animal is driven by their lower energies, you would say, where a man is driven by their heart and their mind.
I love that. So you and I spoke briefly on the phone before this, kind of like a pre-episode phone call I do, and I could tell that a lot of your ways of thinking weren't like traditional guys, and especially not traditional fighter guys, because I've been in this industry for over a decade, the podcast alone for over 2 years. I talked to a lot of fighters. What would you attribute kind of like a lot of your mindset? You've been a martial artist for a long, long time. Is it the reading you do? Is it the training you do? Is it the people you've met? Is there a big mentor that you've always had in your life? I mean, obviously the Bruce Lee nickname probably came from, your love for him. But could you elaborate on how'd you get to the mindset that you're in now?
Well, definitely. I mean, it's an accumulation of all the books you read, the people you talk to, and everything like that. But I think ultimately is learning how to learn from your experiences. A lot of people have different experiences, but if we don't keep an open mind and heart to learn from those actual experiences, then we don't move forward. So, like, for instance, you have siblings within the same family. If they see their father being abusive to their mother, some siblings will grow up and do the same thing as their father did.
Yeah.
Some siblings will grow up and resent what their father did and make sure they'll never do that ever again.
Yeah.
So it's how we take in the experience. And I think I always would take in the experience slightly different than everybody else around me. When things got hard, I didn't curse the world and say, why can't it be easier for me? No, I just decided to become strong.
I like that. Yeah. And I have like a very similar personal situation where my brother and I, same upbringing, but then just completely went the opposite ways. And I always ask myself that. I'm like, how do two people, same background, same upbringing, just go completely different? And it baffles me.
Honestly, I think it's the refusal to give in. When we give in to societal norms, which are not normal to me, These are very recent. These are being developed within the last 60 to 70 years. These societal norms, to like not help somebody when they're being bullied, or not help somebody when they're in trouble, or to look down on people that are less fortunate than you. These are not normal, because the morality in your heart always feels differently. When you're a child, you already know what's right and wrong. But society molds your brain into thinking that some things that are supposed to be right are wrong, and what is wrong is supposed to be right. For instance, every person would always want to help the next person. You don't need a reason to. You just feel it inside of you. But society tells you, don't help that guy, don't help that guy. And because they're not the right type of people. They don't believe in the same things that we believe in. They don't think those same things that we think. So there's no reason for us to help them. But that's bullshit. Everybody has mothers, everybody has fathers, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends. And just because they don't look the same as us or think the same as us, we choose to treat them differently. But how can I treat somebody the same way if I understand that, like, for instance, a good example is like everybody has a mother. It doesn't matter whose mother it is, but if you harm that person's mother, they're going to be upset, just like you would be upset. So why would you go and do that anyway? Because they think differently or look differently than you. And I think that's a very inhumane way of thinking and believing, the same way we treat animals. That's why I chose to be a plant-based fighter. Not fighter, but just a human being, because I see the love and care that a lot of animals have for their children. If you try to snatch away a baby from any animal, they're going to fight tooth and nail just to get it back. So why do we separate ourselves from that? And I think lack of compassion for anything just means lack of compassion. It doesn't mean lack of compassion for one thing. It just means you lack compassion.
Yeah.
So we just have to kind of reconnect with the world around us, that there is an ecosystem and not an ecosystem. We're not better than anybody else or anything else on this planet. And without everything else on this planet, we don't function correctly.
Yeah, it's true. And
that's why it's dying. That's why we're losing air, we're losing water, we're losing land, because we're trying to please our pleasures. We're trying to just indulge into our pleasures and say, well, I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Yes.
But what about the people coming in after you? For me, I always try to leave things better than when I found it.
Yeah, okay. I like that. Yeah. And you and I are very similar in our plant-based beliefs. And I think that people, they don't want to go in towards the plant direction for a lot of reasons. And one of them is just what you said. It's a societal norm. Men eat meat, athletes eat meat. We can get we should go off on that.
And this is crazy. Let me just dive deep into that real quick. Like, in ancient times, like, people say, you got to drink milk. You got to drink milk. Like, don't you know that calling someone a milk drinker back in the day was an insult?
Was it?
Of course, because milk is for babies. So calling somebody a milk drinker is calling them a little boy or a little child. It's like, you milk drinker. We're supposed to stop drinking milk after we're weaning. After we're done weaning. We're the only animals that drink milk after weaning. And then they change that up and say, oh, no, you need milk for strong bones and stuff like that. No, it's for babies. That's why they call us milk drinkers and stuff like that. It's even in a lot of biblical scriptures. It's foolish for a man to try and add on flesh to his body by consuming flesh. It doesn't make you strong. In the Old Testament, God gave you every hard seed-bearing fruit and leafy green on this earth, and this shall be flesh for you. That means he wants you to substitute this for flesh. Wow. Why would he use those words specifically? There's a reason for that. And not only that, and they want to say it's a manly thing, but think about it. Let's think about it, especially in the westernized world. We only eat the female counterpart of the animal. And then they want to say, oh, but soy has phytoestrogen. That's plant estrogen. It doesn't have the same effect as mammal estrogen has on our body. So if we eat the female cow, the female chicken, and the female pig, then we're getting more mammal estrogen, which closely resembles our estrogen. That's why you got men at like 40 with man tits.
Yeah.
You're becoming more womanly, thinking that's a manly thing to do. And there's nothing manly about killing something weaker than you that cannot defend itself. That's actually a bully mentality.
Amen. I love it. Yeah. I mean, so I'm going to assume that your partner, which we'll get into in a second, is plant-based as well?
Yeah, of course. We both entered that journey together as well. And
really?
Then, yeah.
Okay,
and it's crazy how they say you don't get enough protein. I just actually got some results. I did a whole panel just to make proof at it. My protein's high in my blood. And not only that, my testosterone is actually, for my age, on the higher range of testosterone levels than most meat eaters and stuff like that. And they say, oh, you can't be manly with this. I'm like, I'm sorry, but like I'm actually on the up and up when it comes to that. So
did you
it's
ever get
crazy how
your levels tested before you were a vegan and after, or plant-based and after?
No, I did not. I got them done recently, just to see that, like, just to kind of, I knew what I was going to be at. I know how I feel when it comes to testosterone, but I kind of knew that I was going to be on the higher ranges, just because. Oh, sorry, excuse me. That I feel that just because of the way that I feel, and I don't believe it has anything to do with my diet. To be honest with you, I think it's coming from the mind. I mean, it's how your mindset is that.
Oh my God. This squirrel's attacking our door. That's crazy. Sorry.
He's our buddy.
That's so weird.
He wants food.
I've never seen a squirrel he's like running into the door, like knocking on the door.
He wants food.
Sorry, Alex.
But it's just, no, it's all good. But I think it's more of a mindset. I think when you have a highly moral mind and you're steadfast in your beliefs and you're strong-willed, I think that will increase your testosterone a lot more. Like, you're not going to give. You don't give into the status quo. You don't follow the herd. You're an actual alpha male. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it has anything to do with your diet, because diet it just keeps you alive.
You really honestly think that your mentality and your focus can alter your testosterone or your hormone levels?
Of course, because the hormones are produced where?
In the brain? I don't know.
Of course. The signals are produced in your mind. They're released into your cellular function, and then they are absorbed into your cellular function. Now, diet and nutrition can help aid these things, but they're not the creator of these things. Everything is created in the mind. Even the good, like dopamine and serotonin, all that, it's all created in the mind. You don't eat things to make more of them. You eat things to release more of them or make it easier to absorb them. But you create it all in your head. Hormones are created in your brain. It's how you think. That's why when you think happy, you'll release more dopamine and serotonin in your brain. Like, it has nothing to do with your eating. It's like, oh, I'm going to eat this and I'm going to just suddenly be happy. No. It's like the same thing with, like, when people take mushrooms or LSD. They don't give you more serotonin or dopamine or what is it? What's the other thing?
Cortisol?
No, like dimethyltryptamine, the DMT gives, like
the happy drug.
It doesn't give you any more of that. All it does is open the drain. It opens the faucet up and you pour more of it out. It allows you to open up what's already in there. So you have it all within you. You just have to find ways or think of ways to release it yourself. Diet does help, and eating a cleaner diet obviously is going to help, because we're water-based creatures, and when you eat a water-based diet, then you are going to function better on a water-based body, so to speak. And electricity, everything is done through not only through neurochemical processes, but is also done through electromagnetic impulses. So, like, we have our heart sends electromagnetic pulses, our brain does the same thing, and electricity moves faster through water than it does through oil or fat.
So it makes sense. You'd flow faster, operate faster. Everything's connect better. Yeah, makes sense. I love it. I love that you and your partner entered into this together. I asked that question because obviously trying to redirect it towards love and romance and relationships. My partner is a meat eater, and it's just, creates conflict in the kitchen, and I don't even like the smell, and it's just, I'm like, for the rest of my life, because I'm not going back to that. And I'm just, I'm like, how nice must that be to have the partner on the same diet, because it is, a whole lifestyle.
It definitely is, and it definitely helps, when you have somebody to do it along with. And it was difficult in the beginning because we don't have the proper information on how to eat this way. We start doubting ourselves, because especially during the detox period, I'm sure you went through this too. When you start switching your diet, you start to feel and second guess yourself, because you don't start feeling normal. But like, you have to exercise the demons first, and that hurts coming out. And then, but when you start putting the good stuff in, you start to actually retrain your body on basically teaching it on what nutrients is again. But we already knew this as babies. You know, it's like it's crazy. Like I like I forgot the vegan said it perfectly. He's like, if you put an apple, oh, there's Shadow. If you put an apple and you put a rabbit in a crib with a baby, the baby knows exactly what to eat and what to play with.
Yeah,
You know,
wow.
you can call me and tell me when the baby rips open the rabbit and starts eating it. Like it just, it ain't never gonna happen.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Wow. That's such a simple analogy, but fucking perfect example. You know, what's innate in us is not to savagely kill the cat.
Right.
You know,
I
and
like that.
yeah, that's
that was
awesome.
solid,
I love
so.
that. So tell me a little bit about your current relationship status. We always talk to every guest. I know that you're married, but tell us how long, how would you guys meet? Is she also in the fighting industry?
Well, we met. She messaged me on Facebook or added me on Facebook, and I'm like, oh, I saw this person add me on Facebook, and I'm like, I was interested, so I'm like, I started talking to her. We started, excuse me, started talking back and forth online, and then we exchanged numbers, started talking to each other on the phone, and I think that lasted for like a few months until we decided to meet, and then we finally met, and then we started dating, and then we've been dating, and I guess been like boyfriend and girlfriend for like I would say for about 8 to 9 years. You know, before we got engaged, and then we finally got married. We moved together to Arizona and chilled there for about 6 years, and I don't know. It was kind of just very natural. It was just kind of coming together. And she did she did some kickboxing. She still trains a little bit every once in a while. I'll train her and help her out and like teach her some techniques. But she was more into the medical field. She's a naturopathic medical doctor.
What is it?
Naturopathic medical doctor.
Naturopathic or naturopathic?
Naturopathic. I think it's
Naturopathic.
yeah.
Awesome. So basically, like holistic medicine.
Yeah, covers that and traditional medicine as well. So she does it all. She
Oh,
learned it all.
that's
And
very
right now,
convenient to have someone at your disposal. That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
so
cool.
she teaches me a lot about nutrition and what different, especially like Chinese medicine when it comes to like herbs and like things to help you out. And just the philosophy of medicine as well is such an interesting thing. Like the way we look at things in the Western world is just let's treat the symptoms. Where the way she learned is like looking for the root cause, like
Yeah.
why is this happening,
Yeah.
and then we can treat it little by little. So
More preventative than in the moment.
yeah,
Yeah.
and really getting to the nature of the disease rather than just covering it up like a band-aid.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. So, and how long ago did you guys meet?
That was like 12 years ago now.
12 years. And you're 34. So you
Yeah.
met when you were 22. Oh, God, I'm bad at math. 22?
About 20, 22, 23.
Okay. All right. And now
I'll
you're.
say 22, yeah.
So yeah, so you went, from your early 20s to your mid 30s in this long relationship. I want to say you might be one of the longest relationships, one of the guests that's had the longest relationship on the podcast. And, I like asking, how do you make a long-term relationship like that last? Obviously, it's a lot of work. Obviously, it's a lot of communication. But, from someone who's living it, like, what do you say? Like, how do you make a long-term relationship last?
I guess, for lack of a better term, you got to just not give a fuck about what anybody else says, and just understand that it's you guys.
Yeah.
You of course you have a family, but the minute you decide to be together and decide to try and start a family that's your family right there. That's your best friend. You got to be able to have open pathways of communication, talk to each other about, absolutely everything. And at the end of the day, just, how would you say, it comes with a lot of respect, just what do you want, or what are you trying to look for? What do you really want out of life? And really ask yourselves these questions. And a lot of men will say, well, I want, to feel good, lots of sex, and I want to be, but like, that's not true. DMX said it too, man. It doesn't matter how hard you want to be or how tough you want to be. At the end of the day, everybody want to be somebody's baby.
That's a DMX quote?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's from such a savage man, such a sweet quote.
That guy was one of the most educated humans I've ever heard in hip hop.
DJ Zole is very into big hip hop. I don't know hip hop. That's a great quote. Wow, yeah.
But it's so we especially men, like, we have to learn how to be soft to our significant other. We don't got to be soft towards anybody else. Fuck everybody else. But to our significant other, we're going to have to show that soft side. And for women, you're going to have to accept that soft side from your man and not call him a bitch or a pussy about it either. The fact that he's showing you that is showing you his true strength, that he's able to be vulnerable in front of you. And a lot of women won't accept that because they want a thug, they want the hardest nigga and but it's like, hey, chill the fuck out. You don't really want that. Because then when he becomes emotionally unavailable to you, then you're going to be mad when he's giving it to somebody else.
Yeah. 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 And that's exactly what you were talking about before, like kind of societal norms. Like it's most women, it's like in our brain, and society has told us that real men don't cry. Real men are this, real men are, so when a guy is vulnerable and shows his sensitivity, some women, are taken aback and don't know how to deal with it. But that's the hardest thing for a guy, especially men in our field. I think there's a lot of, I use this term lightly, but like toxic masculinity, where guys are just like, ugh, like so aggro, and it doesn't always have to be that way. Be your savage warrior in the cage, in the training room, but then when you come home, that's the person you're soft to. I completely agree.
Yeah, but even in the cage, I mean, people see me cry. People see me talk about fear, being scared, and everything like that. I'm a human being. I'm here for an experience. I have nothing to prove to any other man. If you're gonna step in that cage with me, we're gonna find out if I'm soft or not. We're gonna find out if I'm gonna be a bitch or not. And like honestly, that's never the case. If anybody that barks too loud, you're showing your true colors without having to say it. I'd rather show you right up front and saying like, look, this is what I'm about. I don't care if I'm scared. I mean, I know you're scared too. It's scary as fuck to get in there with somebody else. It's scary as fuck when they lock the shit cage in there and it's like, you ready? You ready? Yeah, you're not in your head, but no, I'm not ready. I'm about to fight somebody. But I think that takes real courage. That takes real courage and that takes real strength to really open up in front of everybody and really be yourself. To be yourself is one of the hardest things to do. And a lot of people won't do that. I mean, a lot of people like want to claim like, oh, I'm tough and I'm this and this and that. But most men won't fight nobody fairly on the streets.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like and the most weakest mentality is like people that want to like have gangs and like jump people and have friends. And she's like, that's the weakest mentality. But these are the people that even women will say, oh, they're hard and they're thugs. And I'm like, bro, no, you're not. No. You're basically like hip hop emos.
Yeah.
You're like like emo kids, man. It's like, I'm tough, and I'm gonna fight you, but then me and my friends are gonna fight you too, and we're still tough. I'm like, how do you even like? It doesn't make sense to me at all. No. Like, if you don't believe in your own strength, how can you call yourself tough? It's like, you ever watched the show The Boondocks?
No, but I know what you're talking about. The cartoon.
The two little black kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. When Riley gets his chain stolen, he's like, man, I try to fight him, and I try to like handle my own shit like a man. He's like, man, don't you know what the point of being in a gang is? You ain't never got to handle your own shit like a man. And it's like, and that is so true. But then people look at them as being tough, and like, that's not a tough personality at all. A tough personality is like gangster. Oh wait, 1 second. Let me. And it kind of, I forgot what movie it was. I think it was The Goodfellas, if I'm not mistaken. When Sonny, like the guy was Sonny, he was a gangster and stuff like that, and like. Sure, you can have a lot of people, around you and make you feel tough because you can do these things in groups and whatnot. But the real tough man is the one that has to wake up every day, take responsibility for himself, and go to work every day or do whatever he needs to do to make those dreams come true and take responsibility for the people that he is responsible for, such as family and himself, and fess up and own up to everything that he might do wrong, to really admit where you stumble. And try and get back and get better, not just cover it up with false machismo.
Yeah. Well, I love that you are, one of the, I can't think of a tougher profession, more savage sounding, even like police officer, fire, like cage fighter sounds like the most savage. But I love that you're using the platform to say it's okay to be vulnerable, it's okay to do this, and the normal male stereotypes are not, as they seem. I love that. I want to ask, has fighting ever gotten in the way or caused, turmoil in your romantic relationships? Like has, training and weight cutting and scheduling, it's just always an issue. But, you seem to have found your perfect partner, and maybe it's not been an issue in the past.
No, I don't think it's been an issue at all. I've been very fortunate to have somebody that was able to understand me, understand what I'm doing, and see how hard it is. And I think a big part of that is that, a lot of people in relationships, their counterparts don't go and watch them train. They don't sit there and watch them weight cut. They don't see how hard it is. Therefore, it's easy for them to speak on a platform of comfort and say, well, hey, you're not doing this for me. You're not doing that. Like, I'm very fortunate that she found interest in the things that I do, enough so to see that it is a difficult thing that I endeavor in.
Yeah.
And then when she sees that, like, all she wants to do is help me do it better. And I'm very appreciative of that. And I think a lot of people don't involve themselves enough into their partner's life to really have appreciation for what their partner's doing. And that goes both ways. I feel even we get into relationships very selfishly. We get into relationships thinking like, how do you make me feel?
Yeah.
Rather than like, how can we just do this better? Forget about our feelings, but like, I want to see the best version of you in whatever you're doing, and vice versa. And that's why, like, when we had that like phone call before, I don't believe in happy wife, happy life. I believe in happy husband, happy wife, happy life. We got to be we got to play our counterparts. We got to play our roles in the relationship. That's why I don't believe in equability. I believe in equal like respect, but I don't believe in equal rights and equal roles. We have to come together and give each other what we complement each other in. Women are better at doing things than men than men can do, and men are better at doing certain things than women can do. And if we don't complement each other, we'll never get the ball rolling. We'll just have two opposing forces pushing against each other, and then you'll start breaking apart because you keep crashing.
Yeah.
I want it to be like a yin and yang. One force is pushing, the other one's pulling, so we just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Right? There is a recessive force, and there is an how would you say an initiating force. So if there wasn't that push and pull, we'll never move anywhere. And so I think we just have to come to terms that we are different. And the fact that we are different is what makes us complete, because none of us are coming to the table complete. I cannot breastfeed children. I don't have the same nurturing side as women, that they can. They don't have the same emotional capacity as women. That's a fact. But the same thing, they don't have the same masculinity as men. And that's also a fact. And I'm not looking for another man to be in a relationship. I want a woman, and I want somebody that can complement my masculinity.
Yeah.
And she wants somebody that can complement her femininity. And then when we understand each other's differences and not trying to be the same, then we fit more like a piece of a puzzle,
I agree.
We become interdependent, not two independent beings, because eventually we're going to fall.
Yeah.
We lean on each other.
Would you say that, let's say relationships that are, two females or two males, do you think that it should be a masculine and a feminine energy, like you were saying, always a give and a take, even in a same-sex couple?
Well, I mean, that's where it works. There's always a top and a bottom.
Yeah. That is the way it works, literally.
That's the way it works. So, like, even when it comes to same sex relationships, you're always going to have a recessive force, and you're always going to have initiating. I don't like to call it dominant force. I like to call it initiating force, or pushing or pulling. I don't, because when we use the words as dominant, like it has a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
So it's just the masculine is usually the pushing, and the feminine is usually the pulling. So it's bringing it into me versus giving it into you. And then that way we never find ourselves wanting. But we have to understand these primal differences. In nature, that's how it works. You never see a female lion trying to be a male lion. It won't work that way. You know, the reason why they work so well with each other is because they understand their roles and what needs to be done. Um, and if we don't do what needs to be done or take our duties seriously, then we're going to find ourselves lacking in one aspect or the other.
Do you believe that in a female male relationship that the female can have like not the more masculine energy, but at times can the woman have the masculine energy and the male have the more feminine energy? Like you're all about guys being vulnerable. Like, is that okay? That push and pull? Like, is it okay for the woman to be the more masculine or the pusher sometimes, and vice versa?
Oh yes, of course. These things were. That's why, like when we look at the image of the yin and yang, even in the masculine, there's always a bit of feminine. And in the feminine, there's a bit of masculine.
Oh, yeah.
So there are times where my woman got to show me tough love and give me that extra push. And there are times where, you know, I got to show her softness and show her what compassion is sometimes, because we do forget ourselves. But that's why we complement each other. So the roles, like I said, the roles are not set in stone. You know, there's times where I have to be more feminine to show her, especially when I'm being vulnerable, to show her my insides. And there's times where she has to toughen up if I need motivation or she needs to get shit done as well. So we have to allow that interplay between masculinity and femininity within ourselves and within each other so that we can work. Nothing is set in stone. So there are times where the energies will change and things will happen. But then again, it's in our hormonal cycles. You know, women have more masculine days and more feminine days, and so do men.
Every month, more.
So,
it's rough, man.
So we're always interchanging.
Yeah.
But when we allow ourselves to interchange, when we supersede masculine and feminine energies, and we can observe them from the outside perspective, then we can allow ourselves to flow with it. You know.
Yeah, I agree. Would you consider yourself a romantic person?
Oh yes.
You are.
I'm a hopeless romantic.
Oh, I love that. Okay, good, because
I write music. I like to sing songs and play music for my wife. I like to write poetry.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. Okay, I want to know what's I don't know if it's the most romantic thing you've ever done, but can you share a story? It sounds like you've probably done a lot of sweet things for your life for your wife over the 12 years. Can you share one of the romantic things you've done for her?
Well, I mean, I've written lots of poetry for her. You know, like sometimes I like cooking dinner for her and stuff like that. Maybe like preparing a bath. You know, when she comes home tired, giving her a foot rub or massage. You know, if she's tired or anything like that. I don't know. I try to cater to her as much as possible. I really love this person, so to see her happy does not necessarily bring me happiness, but I feel it does bring me happiness, of course, but it's not why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
It's just because she's it just makes her feel good. And I don't know, like I really enjoy her in a good mood, so I try to be not the cause of that good mood, but at least a precursor, or at least you know, something like that. So I try the best I can. I'm not perfect. There are times where I do make her mad, and
of course,
and there are times where I can upset her in some ways for me being stupid and me being how would you say, inconsiderate. But when I do consider, I try my best to be as romantic as possible. I like to take her out on dates, especially places we've been before, just as reminders, like how we met, you know, things like that.
I love that.
Walks in moonlit beaches, and I don't know.
You are a hopeless romantic. I love it. What is something that you would tell young Alex about love and romance, dating, even sex? Now that you're 34, you know, mid-30s, what would you tell young Alex?
I don't know. I've always felt like I've been a hopeless romantic. You know, even when I was young Alex, I guess if I had to tell anything to him was if he was still around, you know, I'll be like, hey man, just take your time, don't rush into things, and really look for somebody that's going to respect you and your life, because I think that's one of the biggest headaches I ran into as a younger person is I've always been in just short-term bad relationships. I was being used for my physicality, and I wasn't being reciprocated the same type of love that I wanted. You know, I was always, whenever I met a partner, I'm thinking this is for the long haul, and they're just thinking it's
For a
for
good
this.
time.
Yeah, yeah, and
Really, that's
so it made,
actually so opposite traditionally, I'd say, where the man tends to be the one looking for a quick good time and the girls thinking long term because we are so emotional, you know, we're always like, is this the one, you know?
not in Miami.
Oh, not in Miami. Okay. Yeah, okay. A bunch of California hopeless romantics out here and Miami girls just looking for a good time. Well, that
So
was your
yeah,
experience.
that was usually my experience. That I guess people weren't looking to start a life. They were just, yeah, looking for a good time. And that always caught me off guard. I never really understood that. I was like, well, wow, I thought this was something here, but I guess it was just this thing here. And
Oh,
I almost got to a point where I saw myself turning into the men that were around here as well. I saw myself like, all right, I'm going to be emotionally unavailable. I'm just going to start using women for whatever they can only give me. And
yeah.
like, I started to hate myself for that. And thank God I never dwelled too long or try to run down that road so far,
Yeah.
because I found hope, you know, and that's where it was. And thank God I did. And thank God she found me too. And,
Yeah.
you know, like that was always a scary thought for me. I've always I read a lot of anime. I play lots of video games.
Hmm.
I read lots of stories, Greek mythology. And that's where I got my perception of love from. And it was always a fantastic love. It was always such a romantic love, and I thought this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And then when I see the real world, I'm like, holy shit! It's nothing like the book.
No, it's
It's
not.
nothing like. And then,
Yeah. Oh my God. Could you share, do you have a favorite Greek like story, mythological story that you could share? Like one of your favorite love stories?
um, woo,
Put you on the spot, my bad.
I love, and it's a journey, but I love the Iliad and the Odyssey. I
Okay.
love the story of Odysseus. You know, no matter what he was going through, all the things he went through, his main purpose was to get back to his wife. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like besides of gaining all the treasure, winning wars and everything like that, everything got in front of him, all the trials and tribulations that were trying to wreck his life. No matter what, his desire to get back to his family and his wife was the biggest driving force to get him there. And I
Yeah.
think that was and it made him think so ingeniously that he had to like really have an Archimedean mindset just to just to achieve that goal. And I thought that was a beautiful story
I
because
love
it
that.
really showed the true essence of humanity. He wasn't perfect. He made his mistakes. He went through a lot, and a lot of the trials and tribulations was caused because of himself.
Hmm.
But no matter what, that motivation to get back to his family is what kept that drive and that passion going,
I love that. And
where he
that's,
fought giants and gods just to do it.
it seems like you and the way you live your life is kind of lead with love, you know? Like not so much this like savagery, you know, but it's like, okay,
Well,
Odysseus,
love
you,
is savagery. Love is savagery.
love
I
can be
love the
very
quote that
savage.
Keanu. I love the quote that Keanu Reeves says. They asked him, "Is like, are you a lover or a fighter?"
Yeah.
And he's like, and then she was like, oh, and the girl was like, oh, I'm a lover, not a fighter. He's like, no, well, you can't be a lover if you're not a fighter. And he's like, why? Because if you're not willing to fight for your love, what kind of love do you got?
Oh, that is a great one. Yeah, I do love that.
And most wars are, especially the Greek wars, you know, were fought before love.
Yeah, a lot
You
of,
know,
yeah, a lot of wars over love.
and people died honorably and valiantly, and people made it back home because that desire for love or that want of love is what drove them to such glorious ends.
Yeah, I love that. So this is a fun question because I usually have a lot of fighter girls on here. We get a lot of creepers in the DMs. Do you get any creepers, male or females, in your DMs? If so, please share so we can laugh
Both,
together.
both. I get a lot of creepers. I get a lot of people trying to slide up in the DMs. It happens less now because I found out about blocking people.
You didn't know about that before.
but but yeah, I used to have a lot. I used to have a lot of people come on and even like find my wife's page and start trying to bash her and talk
What?
crap to her. Like as if it was gonna get them closer to me somehow.
Dude, people are creepy. Dude, people are so creepy.
I had men sending me naked pics before. Like it was just like whoa, like okay. There's some weird things going on.
Do you notice an influx of that when it's fight time? You're in the spotlight, or right before a fight, or like right after a fight. Do you get any more?
Yeah, for sure. It's usually after a fight, and that's where like it's always a turn off to me because it's always a turn off to me, but especially like after fights because it's like I know that you're not genuinely interested in me. It's just I'm becoming a name, and you want to try and make a name for yourself by taming a name.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things I love about my wife is that she doesn't try to tame me. She understands that I'm respectful, that I'm going to be honorable, that I'm going to be faithful, but she doesn't try to stop me from being the man that I need to be. So if I got to be a fucking savage, she'll let me be a savage. And if I got to cry it out, she'll let me cry it out and all sorts of things like that. But honestly, when people try to get at me, I just feel like you're trying to capture a mythological beast in the forest. And sorry, I'm too graceful for that shit.
Yeah, it just seems so unauthentic after a win, and vice versa for me personally. I don't know if this is how you feel after a loss, because everyone is just so fucking, if you win, you're everyone's best friend. If you lose, they forget about you. So when someone takes the time out of their day after a loss to like shoot me a message, it just warms my fucking heart, and maybe they could be doing it for bad purposes too, but just, like it's just, I feel like societal norm is not to reach out to someone after they've lost to check in with them. Like, so when people do that for me, it means like the world. I love that.
Yeah, I can see that. But usually it's never, for males, I guess it's different. It's never going to be a female that reaches out to me after a loss, trying to console me or anything like that. It's going to be like old followers, fans and stuff, tell me keep my head up.
Yeah.
And even teammates and whatnot. And that's always a refreshing feeling that people respect it enough to understand that one, losing is not something disgraceful for the field. That losing is not something that makes you into less of a human or less of a person or less of what you are. You ever heard the quote by Theodore Roosevelt, the man in the arena?
Yeah, of course.
That's exactly how it is. A lot of people have a lot to say from states of comfort, man. And, but it's not them who counts. It's the person that's actually performing, because the people that are just talking, whatever they're talking from a place of comfort, and they're talking from a place of which they never, ever tried to either fail or win. They're cold, timid souls. They don't have the fire of passion within them, and it takes such a big thing to actually try, even if you fail. And if you fail, you did so daring, valiantly.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to do. That's why I love Japan, just because in Japan, everybody has respect for the fighters.
Oh yeah.
Whether you win or lose, they're entertained regardless. And they love you for it because they understand that, hey, I would never do fucking something crazy like that. Thank you for getting in there, period.
Yeah. Just so respectful.
And we need that. We need that out here, especially, but it's not the way that it's marketed out here either.
No. It's more marketed towards WWE status. Gore. Like you want a bad guy character and a good guy character, I feel like, is what they're trying to make, in our real sport. And it's not WWE. It's like, there are definitely bad guys in our sport, but at the end of the day, most of the time, it's just two fucking people trying to survive and follow their dreams and, win the fucking fight. It's not bad guy versus good guy. Okay, let's boo this person. Every time I hear someone booing, like I even hate when they boo my opponent, because I'm just like, hey, like, yeah, I respect, like, this chick I love my opponent. Yeah, like I'm like, this chick is me in another form, So, that's how I feel.
Yeah, and then if you don't have the testicular fortitude to get in there yourself, I don't think you should have a say on how these people are performing. I mean, it
Yeah.
takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of guts to just to step in there, just to train every day, just to show up to the gym every day and train when you're sore, when you don't want to do it, when your legs are paining, when your heart's throb and everything, and who knows the emotional regular shit that you have to go through on a day-to-day basis, because all because you're a fighter doesn't mean you don't go through regular human emotional shit. And so on top of that, you got to go in there and perform at a high physical level. And then I guess it would be a perfect world if people showed a little bit more appreciation. But then once again, I think what puts me aside from a lot of people is that you just have to not care, like you gotta have to not care. And it's hard to say that the critics don't affect you, because sometimes they still do. But at the end of the day, it's like they ain't paying your bills, they ain't sleeping with you. So what does it even matter? And it is difficult because a lot of the times it could affect your future performances. It could affect your payment. It could affect your notoriety, your rise in status. Like me being a vegan, I feel like stopped me from rising up in a lot of in a lot of stature for my career. It's just like, oh, what is a vegan doing here? And no matter how many fights I win, somebody can still say, oh, you're going to die because you're a vegan. And I'm like, well, like, shit, man, it hasn't happened in 12 years. Like, I'm still waiting on death to knock on my door. But, like, and so, like, no matter what, some people just disagree with what you're doing. Of
course.
And it's so crazy. Why do you even fucking care? Like, why do you even care? Like it was like, oh, but like, and that's why, like, I know I spoke about it briefly when we had that phone conversation about the whole, like, LGBT community bullshit. Like, honestly, a lot of it's bullshit. A lot of transgender people and a lot of basically people in the LGBT community are saying that, hey, this shit should not be publicized. We're trying to publicize people's sexuality. That shit should be behind closed doors. You don't see anybody going out there saying, like, this is how I F my wife and this is what I do in bed. And like, it's fucking wild. It's like, I don't care what you do in bed. Like, that's your personal business. Why the fuck should I care? And why should you care if I don't want to live my life that way? Because these are private matters. These are things that I only share with my intimate counterpart.
Feels real weird to hear you say that on a sex podcast. Like, I've brought you on a podcast that is fighting, but also, I personally have chosen to dive into the personal lives of the fighters, that being, very surface level love, romance, and even deeper, and more personal sex. Some people do believe that talking about their personal lives or their sexual experiences empowers them because gives
I don't mean about it like, I don't mean it like that.
Okay.
I mean, like, yeah, we're on a podcast, and if you're talking on an interview or anything like that, that's one thing. That's one person's personal life, and because you're asking questions directly. But if no one is asking you and no one cares to know, then you don't have to try and shove it down people's throats.
Got it.
Like, if and like, quite frankly, it's like, I don't have to conform to the way you believe who the hell you are, you know what I'm saying, to make you feel better. The same way nobody's got to conform to me being a vegan to make me feel better. And I don't shove it down people's throats. It's my personal choice. So if you want to ask me about it on a personal one-on-one basis, then we can go and dive deep and talk about it. But other than that, I don't have to make people accept me for who I want to be. And I think that should go across the entire board. So like what the Californians are doing, a lot of them, like they want to indoctrinate the children into these ideas. I think that's fucked up. This is shoving it down people's throats now. Like, if you want to do that and you want to choose to do that, by all means, have all the freedom and liberation to do that. But don't make me conform to that. This is how wars are started. When we try to make people conform to an idea that is not their own.
It's a crazy
Same
world.
thing. Like, why do you think we escaped Britain? Because of religious prosecution. We didn't want to believe in the shit that they believed in. And we didn't want to be persecuted for believing in whatever we wanted to believe in. So we separated. We wanted the freedom to believe in what we want to believe in, say whatever the fuck we want to say, and we shouldn't be ostracized or persecuted for saying or thinking and feeling however we want to feel, especially if it doesn't physically interrupt your personal life. Mm-hmm. So that's where the craziness becomes, you know. And I mean, if we look at if we want to dive deeper into it, look at the crazy shit that's going on in prisons.
How so?
A lot of males are identifying as females, and they're moving them to female prisons.
Yeah, and then surprise, surprise, somebody gets raped, and yeah, it's not good.
Do you know how many women are moving to male prisons because they identify as males? None.
Zero.
Exactly. And then you got an Olympian losing trophies and medals to a person that grew up as a man and has an unfair advantage. They don't have the same bone density. They don't have the same hand size or foot size. Or if you transition after puberty, bro, that shit doesn't fucking matter anymore. You know, you're competing against a different creature.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So like, you can identify however the fuck you want. You can do whatever the fuck you want, honestly, but don't interrupt people's doing of whatever they're doing in their lives as well, just because you want them to conform to that thought process.
Yeah.
So I don't believe in stopping people from being transgender or anything like that, but please let people live their lives privately the way they want to live it.
I agree.
That's like going around and that's like if Muslims went around and saying, you're Christian, you got to be Muslim. And we're not going to, that would be wild.
Yeah.
Because we can tie that same notion to religion, to politics. We can tie that same notion to poverty. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, kick the poor people to the curb. Fuck them. They're not real people. They're dogs. Like, what if we did that? It wouldn't be looked as the same, you know?
Yeah.
So that's where my problem comes in. No, if I have a daughter, I don't want a transgender man in the same restroom as her. We're gonna have a fucking problem. You know what I'm saying? That's wild. Same thing. Like even if I have a little boy, you know what I'm saying? And then you know what they're trying to fucking okay? You ever heard of MAPS?
MAPS, as in like traditional maps?
Minor attractive persons. They're trying to make that into a sexual orientation.
Oh yeah, that's fucked up. By trying to like normalize the sexualizing of children.
Yeah. But then again, they're going to schools and teaching kids how to masturbate other children, you know, how to identify as other sexes. And that's fucking wild. But this is where this movement is going. So there is an underhanded thing that's going on that we're not paying attention to because we're trying to be PC.
Yeah.
Fuck all that noise. Whatever you want to do in your private life, do it in your private life.
It's a scary world to bring a child into. That's why I'm never having kids. And yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Look what happened to Cain Velasquez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did try to shoot someone.
But he tried to shoot the right person.
I mean,
you were raping my kid,
I agree.
For 9 years. If you're raping my kid for 9 fucking years and I find out about it, I'm doing a little bit more than just shooting you, honestly. And like, that's moral justice. Mm-hmm. And we have to go beyond legal justice. I mean, there's morality to it. There's a big gray area. It's not just black and white. There's a reason why people do things, and then there's people doing things. Like, for instance, I'm not going to give the same punishment to a poor person stealing bread to eat versus a rich banker stealing hundreds of millions of dollars from poor people just so they can line their pockets. It's a whole different story.
Well, that's our legal system is just, you know, it's not perfect.
Yeah, and it's because we took out moral from it. We took out humanity from it. That there are reasons why these things are going on.
Not everything's black and white, yeah.
Yeah, and this is what sucks. And so when we start looking at things black and white, we start to take away rights and freedoms from good fucking people.
Yeah. Strong, hard right turn, Alex. Hard pivot right now. Quick question about the topic of this podcast. You have been a professional athlete. Was it 2008 was when you went pro? Don't even remember.
Maybe 2006, 2008, something like that.
So you've been a professional athlete for a long time. I love asking people their preference on either abstaining from sex before a fight or kind of saying, fuck it. You know, every person on here, except for one person, Tito Ortiz, I think maybe one or two, but everyone said they don't care. You know, some in fact think that it actually helps their performance. Do you have a preference?
I don't necessarily have a preference, honestly. I live life, like to me, fighting doesn't become super special to me. So like I don't try to do anything out of the extraordinary,
That seems weird to hear
so
you say that fighting is not special to you because it does feel to me, I know I have a lot of attributes, but it's a huge part of who I am. I've made it that way. It's not everything I am, it's not all I am, but I would say that fighting seems would like it would be a huge part of your life and super important and special to you. So you would try to make all the stars line up accurately, for success.
I just live my life, and fighting is a part of it. My life is a lot bigger than that, so it's a part of my life. Martial arts is a big part of my life. It's super important to me. I like practicing martial arts more in the sense of that it gives me a way to express myself and understand myself and dive deeper into myself. And fights, yeah, I guess they're a little bit more special than day-to-day training, but it's nothing like where, like you said, I need to align the stars to make it done perfectly. I feel like I'm always ready. I'm always ready to fight. I train every
Wow.
single day. I keep my body in shape. I'm always maintaining a certain weight. I
Yeah.
don't cut weight for fights.
You don't? No,
Um,
no. What?
I walk around. I fight at 145, and I walk around heaviest like 157, 158.
Okay. Okay. So that's like fighter,
So
not cut weight, not normal person, not cut weight. Like a
yeah,
normal person hears that and that's cutting weight for them, but that's not really cutting weight for a male fighter. I said this the
no,
other day, like an average male fighter, you tell me if I'm, close. I'd say an average male professional fighter cuts about 15 to 20 pounds.
yeah,
That's a
And it's a
lot.
give or
crazy
take.
fucking crazy number.
That's massive.
And I just when I'm done with training, some days I walk out of the gym at 150.
It's great.
You know,
God.
and I feel great. I don't feel like I'm drained or anything. I just know I just worked out a little bit,
Yeah.
and and so like no, I don't look at it that way. Just 145 seems to be the most natural weight closest to me, so that's where I'm trying to fall into. But other than that, if I get a little bit bigger and 145 is coming, I'll move back up to 155. I'm not like I don't have a goal honestly in the UFC.
You
Of
don't?
course, that on the weight class that I'm in, I'm gonna try and be the best that I can be in that weight class,
Yeah.
but not better than anybody else. I'm not trying to. It would be nice, and of course, I'm going to shoot for the stars when I'm fighting. But like winning a title or anything like that is not necessarily an aspiration of mine. I just like to do it. I
Yeah.
like to do it because it's like a more hardcore training session, and it's a good test to really dive deep into myself and allow me to explore myself in that aspect. But other than that, I like playing music a lot more than playing.
Really?
Yeah.
If you could have an alternate life, would you choose to be a musician instead of a fighter, or would you stay the course that you're already on?
No, I like the course that I'm on. I like my life. I like that I'm able to dabble into so many different things. Um, I love fighting. I love martial arts. I don't necessarily like fighting. Fighting is just one tiny aspect of martial arts, but I love being able to train myself, seeing my physical peak. What can I achieve before my youth is up?
Yeah.
Um, that's the biggest thing because it's an explorative thing for me. I want to see who I am at my highest level, and if my highest level makes me champion, then so be it.
Yeah.
But it's not something that I'm shooting for. I'm just shooting to see how good I can be physically, and the same way how good I can be mentally. That's why I try to educate myself and read lots of books, and how expansive I can be. That's why I like to travel. I like to see the world, and so like to me, it's just I want to know what this whole world's about. I want to know what this universe is about. So like that is my goal, I guess, is to have the biggest experience while I'm alive.
I like that. I like that mindset. And I feel like that mindset takes a lot of pressure off in the performance when you just, you're not, I have to be a champion, have to be a champion. It's like whatever my, peak is my peak. And I feel like that allows you to go in there with less stress on yourself.
And it goes in there without having a peak. You can really go higher than your ceilings,
Yeah.
so to speak. And because they're really, I mean, life when you live in a purposeless way, you truly find purpose there. There is no reason why I'm doing something. Like there is no reason why I need to help people. It's in my nature. There's no reason why I want to be good to people. It's just in my nature. The same way, there's no reason beyond feeding yourself or keep staying alive than eating. You know, when you eat, that's the only reason, is just because you need to eat, and it's a duty. Bees don't ask, why am I going around taking pollen from flowers? You know, flowers and bees arise mutually. You'll never find a field of flowers without bees or insects that do the same job. And you'll never find bees in an area with no flowers. So when we understand that we arise mutually to our counterparts and everything around the world with us, then we understand that the only purpose of life is to simply experience it.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. It's a great mindset. Okay, it's a hard shift again, but we're going to end with a game and some fan questions. Now, the game is kind of silly. It's no real people, but the category for you is Female Warrior Edition. So we're going to give you 3 names, and you're going to tell me out of those 3 names who you would fuck, who you would marry, and who you would kill. We know that you're married, but... Okay, so you get to choose from Xena, Warrior Princess, Angelina Jolie from Tomb Raider, and lastly, Sonya from Mortal Kombat. Who would you fuck, who would you marry, and who would you kill out of those 3 characters?
I guess I would kill Angelina Jolie.
Okay. Goodbye, Tomb Raider.
I would sleep with Sonya, and I will marry Xena.
All right. Yeah. Xena gonna protect you. She's gonna she's gonna have a little bit of more masculine energy than you're used to.
Well, I feel like she has more of a developed character.
Yeah, okay. Sonya's just the video game character. Awesome. All right, before we switch over to the UFC Fight Pass platform where we're going to ask all your fan questions, is there anything you want to tell the fans, follow you on social media, anything else that you've got going on that you want to promote right now?
No, not really.
No? Nothing? You said it all? Okay. Okay, guys, that was a great episode 131 with Alex, Bruce Leeroy, Caceres. That was a very philosophical conversation. It was, I think that was one of the most philosophical conversations, just about, not literally about dating, romance, love, sex, but it's more, I feel like we talked more about just how our opinions and our outlooks on those things. And it's good to dive deep. I think sometimes, us fighters, everyone thinks that we're not deep people, but we are. We think deep and we love hard. So that was great to get to know Alex a little bit better. Guys, UFC Fight Pass is the world's premier combat sports streaming service with over 200 live events, the largest fight library in existence, original shows, and more. Sign up for 1 year and get half off for a limited time at ufcfightpass.com/sign up. I hope you guys do that, because that is where you guys will be hearing all of your exclusive content, the fan questions that you, the fans, are asking. So go on there. You'll get to hear your fan questions. There's other exclusive podcasts on the platform by other UFC fighters or UFC personalities. And I guarantee if you like my podcast, you're going to love those. Check those out. Next week, I'm not gonna lie, I don't fucking know. I don't know who's gonna be on the podcast. I gotta book someone. Now that, I'll be honest with you guys, now that I am getting closer to actually taking a fucking fight, I think I might have to pull back from the podcast, like just a little bit. I'm thinking maybe 2 to 3 times a month, so that I can actually have more time to focus on fighting in fight camp, because my window is small. And so I just got to prioritize, and I can podcast till I'm fucking 87, 97, 107, whatever. I can't fight forever. So please be understanding and know that I'm going to always be cranking out the content. I'm not giving up. You know, I told you guys a long time ago that I was going to approach podcasting like fight camp. You know, there were going to be some sucky days, and there definitely are, but that I would never give up on it, and I'm not going to. I'm going to be doing this for a long time, so stick with us, guys. Don't forget, please check out our website, sexviolencewithrebelgirl.com. If you want to shoot us an email, that's sexandviolencepodcast@gmail, and support my fan time site, which is like OnlyFans, but better. It's ashleyrebelgirl.com. All right, guys, I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in and all for your fan questions. I say it every week. It makes the podcast that much better. It's, you know, real people, real questions. And I really just, you know, I like getting to know what you guys want to know about our guest. It helps me formulate better questions when I interview them as well. So thank you for that. Special thank you to DJ Zole, the man, always holding it down, at DJ Zole on Instagram, Tomorrow Kids Studio, at Tomorrow Kids Official, and you can find us at Sex and Violence with Rebel Girl, and myself at Ashley MMA. All right. Remember, be kind, be grateful, but don't take shit from anyone. Talk to you guys next week with a new guest and more tales of sex and violence. Bye.